Zhang Fan is introduced as the hero, formerly a horror manhwa author. Stricken by a terminal illness, he was fated to die, until he was reborn as the lead in his own story. In this new world he lived comfortably, with food and drink always at hand. Zhang Fan sits at a feast surrounded by fans and beautiful women. He's in a warm bath, girls tending to him. One politely asks if the water temperature is to his liking. Another girl falls on the bed, asking her master if he'll stay with her tonight. But this world is full of danger. Enemies lurk everywhere, wishing him dead. Horsemen charge into battle as their commander orders a massacre. These foes strike without mercy. Someone holds a knife to Zhang Fan's throat, telling him it's time to die. Even his servants desire his death, believing it will restore their strength. His followers declare this in unison, voices cold and resolute. One masked man rallies the others, shouting support as they attack someone else. A green-haired man begs forgiveness as green flames flare in his hand. Even his creation, a parasite-like being, emerges and says, "Let's play, Daddy." To survive, Zhang Fan must turn cold-hearted. He charges into battle with dark resolve. Grabbing a confidant by the face, he threatens to wipe out his family for raising a sword against him. Thus, Zhang Fan became the feared demon king, His Majesty Lucifer. On a wall, a sign reads, "Zhang's House, Studio Demonic Pill." Someone coughs while staring at sketches of people. He reviews drawings of the Demon King's allies and welcomes them, apologizing for summoning them. He also regrets not listening sooner. They wouldn't have disbanded and the studio might have survived. Now it's time to bid farewell to readers. He's grateful for the characters and stories they built. Zhang Fan, gravely ill, sends his love and wishes good health. He'll deeply miss his readers. He had written about death for years, and now she had come for him. Through him, she would take others too. Death didn't feel terrifying. It was oddly comforting. Zhang Fan lies still, eyes shut, as clarity returns to his mind. A maid gently wipes his forehead with a cloth as he rests in bed. He opens his eyes and asks where he is. The girl quickly pulls her hand back and drops the water basin. As Zhang Fan sits up, he asks who she is and why he's here. The girl stumbles to the floor. She stares in disbelief before dashing out. Zhang Fan shouts, "Mom!" and reaches out as she vanishes through the doorway. He lowers one foot to the floor and stretches, wondering if he's alive or reborn. His eyes land on unfamiliar clothes nearby. He dresses slowly, noting how frail this new body feels. Unlike before, this one might still recover. As he finishes dressing, a girl enters and greets him as Mr. He stares in disbelief, struggling to process it. Feng Simeon rushes in and embraces him. Overjoyed, he's awake. She waited, devoted, for half a year. Zhang Fan is stunned. This girl is the heroine from his story. How did she appear here? He gently moves her hands away. Shocked, she apologizes for crossing a line. She kneels, hand over heart, saying she lacked discipline. She couldn't believe it when told he had awoken. Zhang Fan blushes, embarrassed that Feng Simeon calls him master. She takes his arm, asking him to come with her. Everyone will be thrilled he's awake. He asks who they are. Leading him outside, she explains this is the guest house courtyard, and the others are all here. As they pass a room, someone pours a red drink into a glass. Feng Xinjin tells the man, Aman, that the gentleman truly has awoken. Zhang Fan freezes, shocked. Aman looks like a real vampire. Seeing Aman's silence, Feng Xinan snaps. How dare he show such rudeness to the master? Aman approaches, places a hand over his chest and greets him. "Long life to you, sir." Feng Xinan pulls Zhang Fan away, saying not to mind Aman. He's hot-tempered and foolish. They should go meet the others. As they walk, Zhang Fan reflects in shock. Feng Xinan, Aman. They're characters from his story. He realizes he didn't arrive here alone. Out on the street, Dwarf Susan, perched on Woodcutter Fanlai's shoulder, waves and says, "Mr. is finally awake. Long live." Voices call out from behind, remarking on the cheerful atmosphere. It looks like lunch will be served early today. Zhang Fan turns to see Blind Bei and Zombie Liang. He finally understands. These are the characters from his manhwa. It's Demon King's Day. Sunlight pours over the house as Zhang Fan reflects. He once wrote horror stories, and now he lives in the very world he created, with the heroes he imagined. At the head of the table sits Zhang Fan, dining alongside Feng, Aman, Shusan, Bei, and Liang Qiang. Feng Xinan raises a glass and toasts. "Congratulations on your return, sir. We now have someone to follow again." The others smile warmly and lift their glasses in celebration. Zhang Fan wonders if they're just playing roles. Out loud, he asks if they've really spent the past half-year just working and surviving in this world. His companions fall silent, stunned by the question. Blind Bei finally speaks, saying they've all been lost since arriving. None of them remembered who they were, not just Zhang Fan. Jing Fan is shaken. How could the once fearsome demon kings, who could wreak havoc instantly, be reduced to normal people? No wonder they stayed hidden so long. Zhang Fan thinks, though they call him master, he's nowhere near ready to lead beings of such power. He asks Feng Xinan aloud, "Where is the demonic pill?" She turns away and calmly tells him to wait a little longer. Zhang Fan reflects that while Feng Xinan and Bei were his creations, they've helped him here more than he expected. Only the demonic pill was entirely his invention. If even he's in this world, Zhang Fan will be beyond thrilled. Feng Xian hands Zhang Fan a box, saying the demonic pill is inside. Shocked, he asks what that even means. She opens the box and explains that since he had no physical form, he didn't need food or drink. So he sealed himself inside this blue stone. Lying in bed, Jiang Fan stares at the stone and wonders why the demonic pill still sleeps. He says it was fine before, but now that he's awake, shouldn't the pill be too? Is he embarrassed? Jiang Fan mutters that, honestly, it's no surprise. Why would a being like that grovel before someone so ordinary? It's already enough that Feng Xinan and Shusan pretend to be his servants. A loud crash is heard. Someone shouts to wrap up Sonic's hand. Broken dishes, blood, and shards litter the floor. Amon raises his bleeding palm, saying there's no need to wrap it. He's a vampire after all. Fanlia tells him they've lost their powers, so Amon should bandage it anyway. Sitting near the broken glass and blood, Amon replies that it doesn't matter. He'll recover faster than the others. It won't take more than 3 days. Fan Li chuckles and says he'll take the wine to the living room then. Zhang Fan asks Amon if something is bothering him. Amon turns his head and says, "Sir?" Zhang Fan suggests they talk. They step outside. Zhang Fan sits down and invites Amon to do the same. Amon declines, saying the chair is dirty. Zhang Fan asks if Amon knows what this place is. Amon says he doesn't. Zhang replies he's been here 6 months and still doesn't know. Amon shrugs. It's wine that interests him. Then who might know? Zhang Fan asks. Amon answers. Maybe the blind man at the gate. He's always sitting there. Zhang Fan points out how strange it is. They ended up in another world and never tried to gather any intel. Any gamer knows step 1 after reincarnation is scouting the area. Amon doesn't respond clearly. He was unconscious anyway. Zhang Fan is shocked by his logic, thinking Amon just wants to shift blame. Amon tells Zhang Fan not to fear them and repeats his question calmly. He continues, saying they might dislike him in truth, but they never left. Not when he was lost, and not now that he's awake. Zhang Fan presses him on that again. He wonders silently. Amon is trying to touch his emotions? He could accept that from Feng Xian or Susan, but from the vampire ancestor? Did someone mess up the script? Cayman says others abandoned them, but he didn't. He kept their stories alive. That's why they won't walk away from him now. Amon turns back, saying they waited during the master's absence. The blind man knows more. They should ask him. Then Amon leaves, leaving Zhang Fan alone. Out loud, Jiang Fan says, "You despise me, yet they stay." He suspects they all know they're from his story, and that's why they follow him. Zhang Fan looks to the sky and quietly says thanks. Amon, now at a distance, notices something strange. His hand has healed completely. Not a mark remains. Susan, perched in front of listeners at their desks, continues a tale. Last time, Brother Ho became the strongest warrior by launching himself from his battle donkey. He attacked the enemy with 3,000 strikes in an instant, the fight stretching across hundreds of lives on the battlefield. Before he finishes, someone laughs and mocks the story. The strongest warrior? Is his donkey even fast? Zhang Fan sits in the back, eyes fixed on Shu San. Propping his head on one hand, he muses how Shu San, once a sadistic killer, now spins stories for fun. If readers ever found out, he shudders to think what they'd say. Then he turns and begins to reflect. He spots a pretty girl and a large man embracing. Zhang Fan thinks in all his worlds, from cities to ages, there were brothels, but none more unruly than this one. Chang Fan mutters that this world really does seem normal. Blind Bei comments that government here holds little power. It's an ordinary world, or so it seems. He adds that everyone he's met these past 6 months has just been regular folk. Suddenly, a man rides by on a horse with bizarre green growths. The horse itself is green. Zhang Fan points and asks if that's normal for a regular world. Blind Bei simply reminds him he's blind. Night falls over their estate. Feng Xinan informs Zhang Fan that everyone has gathered. Zhang Fan holds the crystal containing the demonic pill and says he's already heard what the blind man thinks. Now he wants to know what the rest believe. Feng Xinan, addressing him respectfully, says their opinion of the world doesn't matter. They only want to know what he plans to do next. She then gestures to the doors and reminds him. They agreed the gentleman himself would choose the name once he awakened. They had 2 name choices, the Goodness Inn or Dragon Gate Inn. Feng Xinan asks His Highness which one he prefers. Zhang Fan says it's either waiting to die or taking destiny into your own hands. Everyone here has already faced death. What's left to consider? The second name is better. Feng Xinan urges him to reconsider. He replies there's no need. He recalls loving horror in his past life. It sparked his imagination. Sadly, he only ever captured that feeling through his drawings. Looking at his companions, he thinks, they're all he has here. Just living each day with them is already a great gift. So instead of a peaceful life, he chooses adventure. Putting the crystal back in the box, he says even if he loses, at least the game was played. But once he chooses his path, it will be something he won't regret. Blind Bei nods, saying he understands. Shu-san is told to head to the county council. He leaps up, ready. Fan Lai is to scout a caravan for a possible base. Smiling, he replies, got it. Bei says the city guard's chief's daughter is infertile. He once saw her fate and gave her water. As for the inn, Jiang Fan and Feng Simeon will greet the guest. Bei tells Liang Chen to assist Simeon and Aman to ensure all goes well. And Sonia? She gets the first meat, but must let the master take the first bite. Feng Simeon agrees, saying she'll host the guests personally. Whoever pays the most wins. Zhang Fan reflects. They've grown more obedient over 6 months, but that's not who they truly are. They'd only been waiting for him to wake, to give orders. Everything before that was an act. Passing Aman, Simeon notes he skipped dinner. She asks if the blood's bad. Aman says yes, just awful, and clenches his fist. Feng Simeon says Feng Li joined the caravan in the desert. Shu-san gave materials to the council, and the blind man went to the guard chief but hasn't returned. Aman nods. Understood. At the table, Zhang Fan asks Aman if he needs help. Aman replies the master has already done more than enough. Zhang Fan thinks. In other words, doing nothing is already helping. Aman says the auction is over, but there's a small issue. They paid far too much. On the street, 2 men chat. One, waving a fan, asks, who are those people from the inn? Each one looks like a demon with how they're dressed. The other replies that it's just their style. The guest is likely from a powerful clan, probably the clan leader's son, traveling with an escort that looks more like a bodyguard. Apparently, he's stirred up quite a commotion in recent days, but no one has dared confront him. Zhang Fan says even if that's true, it's not worth worrying about. He declares he placed the highest bid. The more gold you spend, the more respect you earn. With that kind of power, they can't afford to lose this opportunity. Aman notes that the stronger the guard, the greater the prize. In any case, Simeon already received payment. She doesn't actually have to sleep with him. Paimon adds that if Zhang Fan truly wants to be useful, then Liang Qiang leans against the wall, arms folded. Zhang Fan walks toward him through the hallway. Liang Qiang asks who ordered him to come. Zhang Fan replies it was his own decision. Holding a broken pot, Zhang Fan admits he dropped it but meant no trouble. He thinks both Aman and Liang Chen see him as dead weight. Liang Qiang tells him to do as he pleases, but warns not to push too far. Climbing the stairs, Liang Chen says protecting the master's safety still comes first. Zhang Fan is stunned. Liang Chen actually cares about him? Outside a window, a man whispers, "Beauty, I'm here." Burning with anticipation. Holding a knife, he stares at his own hand. He stabs his palm, drawing blood. Licking the wound, he grins, blue fire igniting in his eyes. Feng Simeon asks softly if the gentleman likes her. The man stares in awe as she sits on the bed in black lingerie. He says he's never seen anything so stunning. He truly does like it. She smiles and says she owns many pairs of stockings. The man stares, mouth open, drooling. Reclining on the bed, Feng Simeon says if he enjoys this, she'll give him more. He wraps his arms around her and calls her his slave. White mist swirls around them. Feng Simeon lays the man down, saying as his slave, she'll help measure everything he needs. She begins trying on stockings in front of him, and each time she does, he gasps and blushes, eyes wide with embarrassment. Outside in the hall, a male guard stands firm, arms crossed, asking sternly, "What are you doing here?" Liang Qiang and Zhang Fan walk down the hall. Liang says the master sent the best wine. The man responds coldly that he doesn't drink. Liang explains they misunderstood. It was the master's order to bring the wine. The man glances at Zhang Fan and lets them through. Zhang Fan walks by, sweating, carrying a barrel. Feng Simeon lies in stockings on the bed as the man yells for her to take them off. She teases him, asking why the rush. She wraps a stocking around his neck and whispers, "I'm right here." Zhang Fan suddenly attacks the guard, smashing the barrel over his head. Feng Simeon pulls the stocking tight and starts choking the man with it. Amon crashes in through the window using magic, grabs a sharp object, and drives it into the man's neck. Feng Simeon sits calmly on the bed, while the bloodied man lies at her feet, Amon looming over him. Simeon asks if the man's dead. Amon replies, "Not quite." At the same time, Zhang Fan is in a fight. The guard draws his sword and charges, leaving Zhang stunned. Liang Qiang draws his blade and charges, appearing behind the man as he attacks Jiang. Blue energy surrounds Liang's sword. Zhang Fan stares in shock as it points toward Liang's own chest. Liang stabs the man's shoulder, then drives the sword through his body as yellow lightning sparks from his hands. The man calls Liang brave, then hurls him back using a blast of blue energy. Zhang Fan realizes the glowing force is combat energy. He's caught a big one, but this fish won't go down easily. The man rushes to his master's door, flings it open and shouts, "Sir, are you okay?" As tears fill his eyes. A flash of black magic erupts. Eamon lunges from the darkness with a grin, ready to strike. The man draws his blade while Zhang Fan shouts, "Edmund, watch out!" as blue magic clashes with Eamon's sword. Eamon is slammed into the wall by the force. The man demands to know who sent them. Holding the sword he used on Amon, the man yells, demanding to know who they are. Amon just laughs, eyes glowing with magical fire. Zhang Fan watches, stunned, his eyes wide in disbelief. Eamon opens his mouth as energy swirls. His fangs grow long like a vampire's. He bites deep into the man's neck while he screams, sinking his teeth further. The man collapses unconscious. Eamon pulls out his fangs and tosses the lifeless body aside. Eamon wipes his mouth and smiles, saying it feels familiar. His eyes blaze blue, wings outstretched, surrounded by glowing magic. He spreads his vampire wings wide as sparks of magic flicker in the air. Fang Xinan, Liang Chen, and Zhang Fan stare at Amon in shock. Zhang Fan realizes Amon's powers have returned and wonders what they can do now. Simeon walks the hall in heels, saying how convenient it is for vampires. He fed and regained his strength. Simeon halts, arms crossed, asking when Eamon recovered his ability. He says it happened yesterday. She asks how, and Eamon says it was due to Lord Fang awakening. Simeon's eyes light up. If Amon recovered because of the master, then maybe she can too. Zhang Fan watches her and shouts, asking what's happening. Smiling, Simeon tells him the fish has been caught. She invites him to the bedroom, saying she'll handle the rest. Later, Liang Qiang stands by Amon's coffin, asking if that's the secret to his recovery. Amon says it's tradition. Unlike zombies, he respects it. Liang replies that he prefers sleeping in a bed. Eyes closed, Eamon says he rarely used a coffin before, but after arriving in this world, he paid well for one. He says mortals only grasp death when they age. Lion responds that Eamon is now mortal himself. Just then, someone says they narrowly avoided disaster. It's Blind Man Bay, peeling fruit, admitting the blame is his. Eamon agrees, but says perhaps only a world like this could inspire them. Blind Bay says today's win helped them see more of this world. He'll return to question the guests. Hammond suggests the master handle it himself. The others are surprised. Blind Bay says he doubts the master can manage it now, so he'll step in for a while. Eamon suggests they might want to speed things up a bit. Blind Man Bay asks if that's why Amon recovered. As he leaves, he says Osman went rogue even after they agreed to stay apart. Once Blind Man Bay leaves, Liang Qiang asks what they did alone with the gentleman. Hammond says it sounds odd. Liang adds it did seem unusual. Eamon says they only talked. Liang says they all talk. Eamon shrugs, calling the gentleman insignificant. Hammond insists they won't leave him, and Liang agrees. Eamon muses that maybe the only difference is the gentleman promised he wouldn't abandon them. Maybe that trust matters. Or maybe it's just luck. Eamon continues, saying that since arriving here, they've accepted him as their master. Now that he's awakened, it feels like a contract inside them has activated, and they just want his recognition. Liang Qiang says he'll visit the master. Amon says the gentleman is bathing. Liang offers to scrub his back. Eamon tells him to wait, and asks why he's in such a rush. Liang grumbles it's easy for Eamon to talk. He's already recovered. He asks Eamon to help close the coffin. Eamon's asleep. Liang yells. While bathing, Zhang Fan reflects. He's killed someone for the first time, seen things he never imagined, yet feels no guilt. Someone tells him the master wants them to personally interrogate the prisoner. Zhang Fan says they should do it themselves and report back. Behind a screen, Blind Man Bei says they'll inform him as soon as they learn anything. Standing nearby, Susan assures him not to worry. This guy won't be hard to break. And if he acts up, she has her own methods. In this world, morality no longer matters. What counts is their devotion. Every thought, awakening, and action must serve him. Zhang Fan covers his eyes with a towel, wondering if maybe the problem is just him. 3 hours later, dressed and by the tub, Zhang Fan adjusts his sleeve, saying he didn't notice falling asleep. He sleeps better in this world. Liang Qiang suddenly whispers in his ear. Zhang Fan jumps back in shock and yells, "Your mother!" Still startled, he sees Liang Chen beside him like a zombie and shouts, asking if the interrogation's done. Zhang Fan thinks he nearly got smacked. Liang Chen really is a zombie. Liang confirms it. Zhang Fan asks about his wound. Liang says it's just a scratch. Zhang offers the bath. Liang refuses. Zhang asks why he's there. Liang stays silent. Zhang Fan sighs, places a hand on Liang Chen's shoulder, and says he can tell him anything. Even if he can't do much, Zhang Fan adds. He's still there to listen. Liang Chen rests his hand on Zhang's shoulder and tells him not to come with them next time. Zhang Fan wonders what happened last night that made Liang Chen so emotional. Out loud, he says he knows Liang Chen trusts them. Smiling, Zhang tells him he'll check on the interrogation and urges Liang to rest. Zhang Fan leaves. Liang Chen stays behind, arms still raised. His legs give out, and Liang drops to the floor, clutching his head, muttering how ashamed he feels. Suddenly his eyes ignite with magical flame. Power swirls around, healing his injury. Zhang Fan eats with Blind Man Bei outside, commenting that this world is unlike theirs, far more fascinating. He digs in and asks for clarity. Blind Man Bei says to ignore his rambling. He'll explain slowly but clearly. As he draws symbols on the table, he says they're in the city of Mutual, which covers a vast area in Beifang County, part of Yan Kingdom, considered a full province. Besides Beifang, the Yan Kingdom has 6 more counties. Its capital lies in Tancheng, once the northern front where warriors fought bandits a century ago. No battle of over 10,000 troops has occurred in the past 100 years. That's partly because the bandits remain divided, and partly due to Southern Yam's presence. Blind Man Bei adds that the kingdoms of Kaiyan, Cook, and Jin lurk like predators, forcing the king to shift focus toward the central plains. Today, aside from minor vassal states, most of this world is ruled by Yam, Jin, Chu, and Kaiyan. Zhang Fan asks if only 4 kingdoms exist here. Blind Man Bei says there's something else even more intriguing. He explains this world has monks, magic users, and martial artists, ranked from 9, weakest, to 1, strongest. The guard they killed wasn't even on the scale. As Zhang Fan eats, he reflects. He's read of such things before, but experiencing them firsthand still left him stunned. Now he feels a real thrill. Blind Man Bei says their current goal is finding a way home. Zhang Fan replies they can set that aside for now. Zhang Fan asks Bei to explain his plan in detail. Bei smiles and dips his spoon into his bowl. First, Bei says, they'll grow their strength centered in Mutual City, then lays out the rest of the strategy. He ends by saying that's the plan, and asks the gentleman to correct him if anything seems off. Zhang Fan says there's nothing to change. Bei planned well. Blind Man Bei praises his master's wisdom. Zhang Fan thinks to himself that Bei is clearly overdoing the compliments. Zhang Fan coughs and says if there's anything he can do to help, Bei should just say so. Bei replies that all a subordinate really needs is the master's trust. Zhang Fan is momentarily unsure how to respond. A few seconds later, he tells Bei he does trust him. Bei says that's not it. Zhang insists he genuinely does. Bei disagrees again. Zhang says he trusts Bei because he's smart. Bei still says no. Zhang accuses him of denying it. Bei replies, not yet. Zhang insists again. Bei responds, subordinate. Suddenly, a leaf in the dish jumps magically from one plate to another. Bei snatches it midair with chopsticks and eats it, thanking the gentleman for his trust. Zhang Fan is stunned. Zhang Fan thinks privately whether it might be better to keep some distance from Bei. Bei, still surrounded by faint magical energy, wipes his hands, smiling, and thinks it's time to end the meal. After lunch, Zhang Fan takes a walk and hears odd noises coming from the house. He goes to check. Inside, Sail-san is hammering something on a layout of the area. Zhang Fan asks if that's a topographic map. Sail-san looks back and greets him with a Mr. Smiling, Sail-san says the gentleman has sharp eyes. Blind Man Bei asked him to make it. Now he's sketching the next phase to secure their foothold in the city of Hudu. Zhang Fan hands the hammer to Zeal San, who resumes striking the board just as before. Zhang Fan rests a hand on Zeal San's shoulder and says he'll continue checking other areas. As soon as Zhang Fan leaves, Zeal San starts coughing and drops the hammer. He collapses but lifts one finger and grins, revealing sharp teeth. Zhang Fan reflects that since yesterday, both Sinan Langcheng and Blind Man Bei have acted oddly. Only Zazen seems unchanged. Still, he feels he can get along with them. As he nears the door, he hears laughter behind him. Turning around, Zhang Fan wonders if that was Shu San laughing. Suddenly, Zhang Fan stumbles into a room filled with white fog. Feng Sinan asks if he's all right. Zhang Fan asks Feng Sinan what she's doing there. Smiling, she says she brought him clothes. She's made several outfits for him over the past 6 months. Feng Sinan helps him try on an outfit. Though he's not fully healed, it fits perfectly. Zhang Fan says he grew up without parents, so no one has made clothes for him in a long time. He takes her hands. With a smile, she offers to be like a mother if he wishes. Zhang Fan smiles back, saying, "Sinan." She adds cheerfully that she's good at roleplay and can fulfill any role the master desires. Zhang Fan thinks he's far too innocent compared to these demons. Blind Man Bei suddenly walks in saying, "Mr. Feng." Feng Sinan throws a teapot at Bei and yells that he's a bastard who never learned to knock. She grumbles that the mood was perfect until Bei barged in and ruined it. Blind Man Bei coughs and says something's happened at the inn's entrance. A man on a throne declares that war is near, and the emperor has ordered laborers to transport supplies for the army. From now on, the Zhang family, Zhang Fan, Zhen Li, Zhen Chen, and Zhen Meng, must join. A man in armor tells them to move quickly. He warns them not to delay. The army doesn't tolerate excuses. The sword has claimed many lives already. Feng Sr. stands before them, with Zhen Fan and Liang Chen behind. She says Officer Shu fled with the traitors. She adds that Amin is sick. What if he spreads TB to the whole barracks? Her eyes flare purple. The man considers her words. The man says to forget those two. Everyone else will be hired for the task. As he leaves, he orders them to report to the barracks outside the city by noon. Feng Simeon answers, "Understood, sir." Safe travels. Zhang Fan thinks to himself, this time, they're in serious trouble. Blind Man Bei walks in and says they have 2 choices. 1, pack and abandon the inn. Zhang Fan replies. They continue. All eyes turn to him. Zhang Fan says they've kept this inn and their cover identities for almost a year. Kudo City is their first step. Quitting now would look weak. Besides, rebelling over something so minor makes no sense. Blind Man Bei says the gentleman sees far ahead. Shu is told to go with them. Shu smiles and agrees. Feng Simeon asks why she can't go too. She could help. They say her role is a military prostitute. Feng Simeon is furious. Bei reminds her their job is to clear the master's path. Sail-san tells Zhang Fan to leave it to him. Sitting in the chair, Zhang Fan thinks the emperor wouldn't want to be mistaken for Lu Chang. He's superior in every way. The next day in camp, Zhang Fan enters a tent with Liang Qiang. Zhang Fan says they've been ordered to follow the army. This is bad, he reflects. Who would have guessed he'd be reborn into another world only to end up going to war? Liang Qiang tells Zhang Fan there's a problem. Zhang Fan asks what it is. Liang says their duty was food transport. The army should have passed, but there's no sign of any troops here. Liang continues. They don't know the army's size, targets, or strategy, yet they're tossed into battle on arrival. Something's clearly off. Zhang Fan is deep in thought, but Zila-san walks up to him. Zile tells him he discovered something. Zhang Fan asks what he found. Zile-san says he checked the ration card and shows his palm, just pebbles. The card is full of rocks. A few days later in the camp tent, someone tells Zhang Fan something might happen. He asks what they saw. Liang Qiang asks Zhang Fan's opinion of their camp's location. Zhang replies the water source here can't be blocked. Zil-san is by the fire warming food. Zhang Fan adds that being in a canyon lets them lower defenses and still maintain better protection. Liang Qiang praises his wisdom. Zhang Fan privately thinks the flattery is too much, almost like they're working for free. But given their harsh daily routine, he doubts this task is so simple. Leng points out one flaw. They lack actual troops. Fewer than 200 cavalrymen, most forced peasants with no real combat ability. If they're attacked from both flanks, these villagers might panic and destroy the camp from inside. And the army's cavalry has been observing them for 2 days. Zil-san hands Zhang Fan soup. He says it seems they're just bait. Sipping soup, Zhang Fan thinks there's no point telling the army or warning the peasants. They'll survive on their own, and maybe benefit from the chaos. At night, a yawning guard walks the camp. A shadow silently lands behind him. A hand covers the guard's mouth. His throat is slit cleanly. More attackers rush the tents. As the body drops, they run through camp wielding daggers. Suddenly, Liang Chen's hand materializes and grabs one by the throat. Hearing the scuffle, the others freeze as purple energy slashes past them. Zile-san lunges with a dagger while Liang Chen drags the corpse away. Zhang Fan steps from his tent and orders them to cut off the attackers' heads. A glowing blue arrow shoots into the sky. Liang Qiang and Zhang Fan look up at it. Then cavalry arrives, shouting to kill everyone. No prisoners. Blind Man Bei says they're barbarians. Zhang Fan is asked if he knows them. He says they've been enemies of Yan for over a century. Relentless killers. Zhang Fan stands with Liang Qiang, smiling behind a tent as barbarians rampage. Villagers scream and run, begging for help. Zhang Fan thinks it's obvious. They're the bait, and now that the fish is hooked, the trap should spring any moment. Sail-san tells Zhang Fan it's too dangerous. Why not escape now in the middle of this chaos? He recalls that barbarian heads bring gold and merit. Zile-san grins. It's true. The master really has a dark heart. A barbarian spots them and charges. Liang Chen steps in front of Zhang Fan, shielding him with his weapon. Sail-san charges with a grin, slashing the barbarian's head clean off. The dying man clutches his neck and drops onto his horse. Yang Cheng's eyes flare red. Yang Cheng lifts his hands and red energy swirls. He attacks magically. Horse collapses. Liang Chen grabs the barbarian's throat, slams him down, and calls for the master. Zhang Fan draws his sword, charges, and decapitates the barbarian. Blood splashes Zhang Fan's face. He tastes it, surprised. It's slightly sweet. Zhang Fan lets go of his sword and stares at his hands in disbelief. He wonders aloud if he just killed someone. Then he realizes the feeling isn't as terrible as he expected. It almost feels good. Zile-san hands him a water skin. He says the first kill is hardest, but once used to it, one might even enjoy it. Zhang Fan pours the water on his head, thinking a wolf won't follow a sheep. If they won't respect him, maybe they'll believe he eats meat too. Raising his sword, he says he's fine. Now Zhang Fan plans how to prove he's also a true wolf among them. More cavalry rides in. The barbarians in camp spot the armored riders approaching. Someone yells, "The dogs are coming! Kill your fear and fight! Surround them! No prisoners!" Liang Qiang and Zhang Fan watch. Sail-san says the general used peasants' lives to bait the enemy. He wonders who's so ruthless. Liang Qiang replies, "This cavalry won't be easy to handle." A spear suddenly flies toward them. They dive to the ground, yelling for the master to stay down. Zile-san glares at the huge barbarian. Liang Qiang draws his sword and charges. He leaps, aiming to strike, but the barbarian dodges. Zhang Fan shouts to Zile-san to assist Liang Chen. He'll find cover himself. He suspects the enemy is after their cargo again. Zile-san just laughs. Liang Chen grips his shattered sword. The barbarian grins, noting it's broken, and charges. Liang Chen narrowly avoids the strike. Liang Chen shrugs, saying he never knew how to use a sword anyway. The barbarian punches him hard, smashing him into a rock. The barbarian stares in shock. How did this weakling survive such a brutal blow? Liang Chen's severed arm, enchanted, flies back and slashes the barbarian's back. He screams, coughing up blood. Liang Qiang mutters he prefers claws anyway. Suddenly, an arrow hits his arm. He turns his head sharply. While he's distracted, a barbarian kicks him into a cart. Another, armed with a bow, yells to watch out. Something strange about this guy. His arrows usually pierce straight through men, yet this one only nicked the arm. No armor. Something's off. Zile-san shouts to check his surroundings. He appears behind the archer and drives 2 daggers into his back. The man howls. Another barbarian sees this, raises his sword over Liang Chen, and shouts that he'll finish him. But Zhang Fan steps in, swinging his sword. The barbarian freezes, then starts coughing blood. He's been poisoned. He realizes it happened when Liang Qiang hit him. Zhang Fan finishes him with a clean strike and sinks his bloody blade into the dirt. Zhang Fan sits on the ground, leaning on his sword. Liang Chen reaches out and helps him up. Liang Chen glances at Zhang Fan, recalling Blind Bai's words. Despite doubts, never forget it was the master who created them. If life is a cage, their master was the one trapped inside it. So it's their job to ensure he has what he needs to grow in peace. Only then can he truly lead them. Blind Bai believes their master truly deserves their loyalty. Liang Chen pulls the arrow from his arm and tells Zhang Fan the army has secured the area. It's time to count their trophies. Zio-san walks up, saying he's caught a big one. He drags the severed head of a barbarian commander. San Zio says if they'd captured that old guy alive, their confidence would have been much higher. Zhang Fan says no. He clearly saw everything. That's why he had to die. The barbarian screams "Devil!" as the blade nears his throat. Zil-san laughs, saying he's killing someone the right way. In the middle of the battlefield, the commander on horseback draws his sword and asks who stands before him. Zhang Fan holds up the severed head of the barbarian. Beside him are Liang Qiang and Zile-san. One of the men realizes in surprise that the Central Army has been hunting this old man. Raising his hand, the man thinks this trio got lucky. Their success is clear, but the credit now belongs to someone else. Soldiers charge at Zhang Fan, Liang Qiang, and Zile-san. Zil mutters that they're trying to steal the spoils. A horseman yells, "Brothers!" but is run through mid-shout and drops from his saddle. It's the mark of Genbei from Iron County, accompanied by the 7th Elder. Genbei orders Lucayan to clean up and meet her in her tent. Zhao Xing jokes with Liang Chen. Could their master be tied to this woman? She's dressed like a man, classic harem trope behavior. Zile-san lounges in the bath, saying her high rank benefits them. Plus, all their losses will be reimbursed. Liang Chang scoffs, claiming this woman isn't worthy of their master. Zile accuses him of blatant flattery. Liang Qiang says their master deserves the best woman in the world. Don't act like you haven't noticed, he adds. Suddenly, Zil-san widens his eyes. He asks what Liang means. Has their power truly returned? Will it keep growing? It must be linked to the master. Liang Chang replies that before Zhang Fan woke, they were just regular men. Now their powers, and the master's, rival 10 lifelong cultivators. Zile-san yells, "Exactly!" He tried to warn their master the general was a woman but couldn't finish his advice. Liang Chang asks what that advice was. Smirking, Zil says he told Zhang Fan that if she won't let him in, he should just barge in. Because odds are, she's in the bath. That way, their master might accidentally gain some unexpected fortune. Liang Chang cuts him off, and then she'll have him dragged out and chopped to bits. Zile calls him vulgar. Zhang Fan enters the general's tent, kneels, and greets her respectfully. Genbei smiles and tells him she wants to reward his efforts in battle. He's offered a choice between 2 honors. The first option offers Zhang Fan a place in her personal guard and family. The second lets him become a military officer in Kudo City. Genbei Hai tells Zhang Fan to forget it and return with her to the Li family. But he interrupts, choosing the second option before she can finish. Genbei Hai glares at him and asks if he dares insult her family by refusing. Zhang Fan calmly replies that Kyoto is his home. He can't bear to part with it. He thinks the girl sees him as a fool. Why would he join her clan and become a servant? He wouldn't even know how he died. He also recalls if any of the 7 demon kings, like Amon, were vegetarians. Amon stands among corpses, claiming he dealt with the hyenas. Next up is the Trinity Union. He asks if the gentleman still hasn't returned. Yet others take initiative. Blind Man Bai replies that the gentleman will return eventually. In the meantime, they should act, since they have awareness and free will. He wipes his bloody dagger, tosses it aside, and talks about a wagon gang outside the city. Oddly, they weren't on their target list. Blind Man Bai says he left that to the sons, assuming they'd wrap it up quickly. Someone says it's time to begin. The gang leader is tied midair with glowing green threads, screaming what she's done to them. Fang Simeon sits and smiles from her chair, asking mockingly if he enjoyed her tofu that much. She drinks from a kettle, wipes her mouth. Her purple eyes burn with fire as she wonders if the Lord has finished his battle. That evening, Zhang Fan, Liang Chen, and Zile-san camp. They're told they'll likely reach the farm by tomorrow. The master needn't worry, everything's under control. Sitting by the fire, Zil-san jokes he's unsure if they'll find enough food. His appetite's large, and it's hard to eat well on the road. Zhang Fan figures it must be tiring to flatter him daily. On Fan Lai's behalf, he loudly tells Zil and Liang to eat and rest. Suddenly, footsteps. Zil-san opens his eyes. Liang Qiang says someone's coming. They stand and shield Zhang Fan. A veiled girl appears, saying the wind's strong and they should find shelter. She and her warriors intend to use this spot. Zhang Fan, Zile-san, and Liang Qiang sit near the fire, while the veiled girl and her warriors rest at a short distance. The girl stands, pulls out a water skin and shows it to them. Zhang Fan mentions the cold wind hurts his throat and says he won't be able to drink. He suspects they're barbarians and wonders if the drink's poisoned. Normally, one would sip first to prove good intentions. The girl sips the water, returns to the fire, and introduces herself as the head of the barbarian royal hall. She says the 2 kids with her are grandkids of the Shadow Tribe chief. Zhang Fan recalls how the Li family once drew out the Shadow Tribe. Now they're facing a real threat. She points to nearby horses marked with the Li family's seal and asks if the men belong to that clan. Her tone sharpens. She says Shenbei County's reputation precedes it. It must have taken effort to cross her path here. Zhongfan tries to explain there's been a misunderstanding. But the wineskin falls, and her guards begin choking, poisoned, foaming at the mouth. The girl curses in shock, calling on barbarian magic. Green light spins around her as she revives her dead soldiers, now turned into snarling, glowing-eyed beasts. Seeing her revive the corpses, Zhang Fan, Liang Qiang, and Zile San get ready to fight. Zhang jokes to Liang about greeting his relatives. Liang Qiang is actually a Zhang Shi, an undead being from Chinese legend, a hopping vampire with ancient origins. The monsters charge. Liang Qiang raises his hand, opens his mouth, and unleashes a deafening roar. Red waves of magic surge toward the enemy. The girl gasps as she sees her undead lose control. She yells in disbelief. How did Liang Qiang override her curse? She places fingers to her forehead, shouting a barbarian spell. She suddenly realizes it wasn't her curse being broken. These undead willingly submitted to Liang Qiang's power. She was wrong. Liang Qiang roars again. The undead soldiers now face the girl and charge at her. She dodges as two zombies snarl. She strikes one in the head and grabs the children, waking them. Zile San appears behind her, laughing. She screams. The frightened children gasp as he points daggers at them. The girl's eyes glow green as she screams, magic swirling around her. Zeo-san is knocked back. Her cloak, infused with magic, shields her. Sayo-san senses something odd about her cloak. He yells that if she has even a shred of courage, she shouldn't run. She grabs the children and bolts, heading straight toward Jiang Fan. Someone in his group shouts, "Sir!" Jiang Fan meant to fake blocking her, but didn't expect her to charge right at him. Caught off guard, he raises his sword. As Jiang swings his sword, she hurls a child toward him. Realizing her tactic, Jiang hears the child scream and backs off. The girl grabs a dagger and yells that if he dares stop her, he'll be the first to die. She presses his sword against his throat. Her blade at his throat, she shouts furiously, demanding he die. Jiang counters, pressing his sword to her neck. He notes her powerful grip. Just then, her undead troops, now under Liang Qiang's control, fly toward them. The girl launches into the air. Her undead crash into the ground where she stood. Zhongfan looks up. She's diving toward him. He prepares to strike back, but Zile San sneaks up and stabs her from behind. Blood gushes. She cries out, grabs one child and tries to flee. Zile San shouts that she won't escape, but someone tells him to stop. He turns, shocked by the voice. Liang Qiang sits on the ground, saying he's struggling to control both zombies. He's out of strength, his limits reached. He asks, if Zile chases her, then who'll stay behind to protect their master? Sayo-san walks over and says their master's insight is divine. He predicted the battle and got ahead of her. He deeply admires Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan replies he failed to stop her. Then he asks with a smirk if Zile's dagger was poisoned. Zile grins back, calling him cruel, and admits he likes it. Far off in the desert, the girl collapses, blood soaking her back where the dagger struck. Gasping, she curses. Clearly the dagger was poisoned. But even so, she swears to complete the royal family's mission. Looking up ahead, surprised, she asks, "Master Raven, why are you here?" 3 cloaked figures stand before her, with Fan Lai behind them. The man in the center demands to know what happened to the young lord and where he is now. The girl shouts, asking for the leader. She urges him to gather troops. Jen Bai's men are nearby. The soldiers, hearing this, rush off at once. Fan Li stays behind, eyes fixed on the dagger in her back. She catches him staring and asks what he's looking at. Drawing his weapon, Fan Li replies he's looking at her. Later, Jiang Fan asks if he recognized the dagger as Shu San's. Fan Li says yes. It took Shu San 6 months to craft it. Jiang then asks if he stabbed the woman. Fan Li confirms it. Watching Fan Li drink from a wineskin, Jiang Fan thinks he didn't expect spies among the caravan his man was traveling with. By chance, Fan Li met the woman on the road, and things ended in their favor. Jiang thinks luck was clearly with him this time. Jiang Fan reflects that he couldn't kill those children. If, in decades, they rise for revenge, he'll simply kneel. Fan Li hands something to Liang Chen and Sayo-san. Picking up the grass, one of them asks what it is. Shallots? Fan Lai says eating them gives a strong burst of energy. He's been taking them for days. Shu-san responds, saying simple folk live simple lives. Meanwhile, Beifeng County's envoy Xu Wenzhou sits at a table, clutching his head in frustration. He asks if the Marquis and the lady can survive what's coming. A servant carrying a tray says the Marquis is lucky, and reminds him that the lady personally recommended Jiang Fan. He asks Xu Wenzhou if he's going to ignore that. Xu Wenzhou lifts the cup, removes the lid, and angrily says Jiang Fan is just a commoner. Not even 300 horses should be entrusted to him. Would he dare rebel during hardship? He adds that if Jiang Fan can rally forces, then he acknowledges him. Jiang Fan stands at a doorway, surprised. Beside him are Fan Lai, Ling Cheng, and Shu San. Shu San steps forward to shield the master. Jiang asks aloud where everyone has gone. A servant runs out yelling, "Master, you've returned!" Jiang Fan immediately asks what happened here. The servant tells Jiang Fan to rest easy. Seneng and Mr. Bei bought a new house and left him behind in case the master returned. They plan to move to a bigger house on the corner, once they've saved up enough. At their new home, someone mentions officials in Kyoto get double pay by rank. But since they're new here, they must first prove their sincerity. Aman, Blind Man Bei, and Feng Xinan sit in a lavish room. Bei says a hyena gang trafficking people was stopped, only for their master's sake. Aman asks why they refused the Three Gods Association's generous offer. Bei answers that as their master avoids religious conflict, so will they. He's a man of learning. Feng Xinan recalls Bei's manga once tackled that subject, but got cancelled. She adds that if business goes well, money won't be a problem. Feng Simeon, sipping wine, jokes they've worked long enough together. Maybe they'd profit more selling soap. Bei turns as she drinks. Suddenly someone shouts, "Mother, the master's back! Everyone's returned!" Later, Jiang Fan relaxes in a hot tub. 3 girls bathe him, and one checks his temperature. Fan Li, Almond, Shu San, Liang Chen, Bei, and Feng Xinan sit around a table with plates of half-eaten food. Simeon tells Bei she arranged the best bath as requested. Aman wonders if it's too much, and doubts the master will meddle. Bei replies they must wait for his choice. With eyes closed, Sayo-san mutters, "It's a shameless attempt to seduce the master." While Chen struggles to speak, Fan Li grins and smacks his lips. The rice is tasty. Bei says the master should benefit from their progress. Now that conditions have improved, they must again let him choose freely. Aman interrupts, saying that's enough. He's sure Bei will cry if Jiang Fan dislikes it here. Jiang Fan smiles and asks if everyone's eaten and drunk. If so, it's time to get serious. Zayo-san laughs, saying it was too late. The master had already cut off her escape route. Feng Simeon says that's exactly what you'd expect from their master. Sayo-san adds that if they're curious, they should pay attention to what comes next. Fan reads the book, thinking that with such flattery, it's no wonder ancient kings were quick to poison anything. Blind Man Bei stands beside Jiang Fan and says his men plan to start a gang outside Hero City. He didn't expect the master to win over the officials. It'll benefit them all. Jiang Fan senses Blind Man Bei's spiritual awareness and realizes he almost nodded off. He straightens up, deciding to radiate imperial authority across the room. Jiang Fan tells Bei he'll handle the group's direction and growth. Their first stop is Kyoto. After that, they'll start expanding their influence outward. Yang Cheng says they must not waste the 300 horses gifted by Kyoto City. Blind Man Bei says their next step involves that issue. The trick is, while the army's part of the Yan Empire, it truly answers only to them. Sayo-san corrects him. It's loyal to their lord. Bei agrees and rephrases. It's loyal to their master. Bei informs Zhao-san and Fan Li that their original group will be reintegrated. Since they're back, it's in their hands. Sayo-san agrees to handle everything starting tomorrow. Tinian will train the new girls and choose the best ones for advanced lessons. Bei tells Liang Chen they should train together a bit before heading to Yemen. Yang Chan should also let the master give him a few, even simple pointers. Chongfan wonders what advice he can even offer Liang Chen. Bei says he's done and asks the master to make final changes. Zhangfan says he's already spoken, thinking privately that thanks to them, his burden keeps growing fast. Suddenly someone raises a hand. Aman interrupts, asking what about him. Bei replies that Aman has the most crucial role. Aman asks why Bei forgot him. Bei reminds him he's blind. Aman is speechless. Bei continues. They'll need a fortune to feed 300 cavalrymen. Aman asks what he's supposed to do. Bei tells him to handle the soap. Aman's too stunned to respond. Loud bangs and clangs echo. Someone tells Jiang Fan it's late. They should call it a day. Drenched in sweat and down to his pants, Fan just nods. Jiang Fan reflects that after 3 days of being beaten during training, at least his physical endurance has improved. Jiang Fan asks Liang Chen if he's really skipping the bath. Liang Chen says he dislikes hot water and tells him to go ahead. Jiang Fan shrugs and says he'll invite Sinan instead. Aman tells Feng Xinan they'll launch soap first to earn big. Then they'll move on to perfumes and later expand with other products. Feng Xinan replies they must go all in if they want high profits fast. Anything less won't bring real results. Suddenly Feng Xinan notices something. Zhang Fan isn't with Liang Chen. She yells and dashes off, blaming Aman for distracting her. She forgot to bring the massage item to the master. Aman just stares after her, puzzled and silent. As she runs off, Aman turns to Liang Chen and asks if his aura has grown stronger. Liang Chen replies that he doesn't think so. He believes the issue lies with them. Aman says it feels like effort alone won't help. He thinks they won't succeed like this, and tells Liang Chen it's time to try something different. They both notice a bar of soap on the ground. As Liang Chen bends to pick it up, Aman says he made it recently and suggests trying it. Blind Man Bei suddenly appears and says they're quite close. Aman asks if something's wrong. Bei informs them there's a meeting tonight in the pavilion. As he walks away, Bei says that's all he had to share. Over his shoulder, he jokes how lucky they are he's blind and saw nothing. They're left speechless. That evening, Feng Xinan complains about that zombie having no sense of decency. Zhang Fan tells her to forget it. He's already unwound. Feng Xinan massages the reclining Zhang Fan, saying she can suggest another training method if needed. He tells her they'll discuss it later. For now, physical training works fine. She jokingly asks if she should get Ammon to bite him. Zhang Fan asks if she's suggesting he become a vampire. Sinan replies, Aman's transformations are limited now. Such power can't be wasted on just anyone. Later, during the meeting, the topic is announced. Cultivation. Blind Man Bei tells Liang Chen they need to discuss the master's training progress over the past few days. Everyone is present. Fan Lai, Feng Xinan, Sayo-san, Bean, and Liang Chen. He says earlier, the master had no real combat skills and slow reflexes. But now, his strength is impressive. Zhang Fan had only been awake for a month and hadn't fully recovered yet. Still, his current strength matches that of a well-trained adult. Blind Man Bei raises the question he's always had. How are their powers truly linked to their masters? Though the rule of unconditional support holds, there's a deeper issue. Holding up a finger, Blind Man Bei says they've regained some strength, but progress stalled. Feng Xinan urges him to share what he's figured out. Bei says his guess is their recovery speed mirrors the master's strength. Like in a game, they're tied to his level and can't surpass it. Liang Chen concludes that since the master is still at level 1, their power remains capped too. Aman says the master's growth is self-determined. Though they hold power, it's still being held back by him. Blind Man Bei agrees. Fan Li scratches his head and jokes that if they cut the master, maybe the limit will vanish. Everyone falls silent. The group, Bei, Feng Xinan, Liang Chen, Susan, and Aman, all reflect on Fan Li's unsettling idea. Would harming their master lift their limit? Liang Chen sets a kettle down and recalls how, back when they were ordinary, they swore to let the master choose his own path and vowed to protect him. Pouring water into a cup, Liang Chen adds that now, with power returning, they're starting to crave more, and that disturbs him. He goes on, ashamed, admitting he's not suited for this. Yet he offers everyone a drink, to forget the talk and bury those dark thoughts. Feng Xinan knocks over her wine. Sayo-san drinks silently. Aman stands with a glass. The rest drink without a word. Blind Man Bei says if the player dies, his summoned beings vanish too. So they can only grow by helping the master grow stronger. He adds that their cultivation systems don't suit the master. So, they must find him a teacher instead. Feng Xinan tells Bei that if this meeting was just to say they need to find a mentor for the master, he could have said so earlier. Aman asks why Bei didn't say it before. What's the issue? Sayo-san agrees. It feels somewhat humiliating. Bei laughs, admitting he didn't expect Fan Li to actually say such a thing out loud. Fan Li wonders if it's his fault. He and Feng Simeon stand on a stone wall. Feng tells Blind Man Bei her maid was sent to ask the master to wait for them to return. Behind them, Blind Man Bei sits with Amon, Lang Xiong, and Sayo. Feng Simeon asks if he's sure the teacher will appear here. Bei says they finalized things last night. And today, their goal became clear. Sayo-san asks if he planned all of this from the start. Blind Man Bei replies some think he shouldn't have. The guard captain's wife sent word via her maid. Her husband leaves today, and she requested water charms to help her conceive. Sayo-san bursts out laughing. Drawing in the sand, Bei adds that one bandit, a former official and martial artist, is being sent for trial today in another city. Sayo-san asks if such a martial artist is truly fit to teach their master. Liang Chen wonders how large the transport group will be. Aman notes that despite being crippled, the man is still useful. It doesn't mean his worth as a teacher has vanished. Bei explains that just last night they debated teacher options, and now a candidate appeared. To him, that's a sign of divine will. He says fate handed them this moment. Their master is chosen by the heavens. They must obey destiny and serve him with honor. Sayo-san yells that Bei is a mad, blind fool. The gentleman isn't even here, so why is he showing off like that? Just then, Zhang Fan rides up. Sayo-san accuses Bei of using spiritual sense to deceive them. Zhang approaches on horseback. He asks if they were out here to find him a teacher. He accuses them of lacking real ambition. Zhang Fan thinks to himself. Others seek mentors for guidance and dialogue, yet his followers act like they're out to rob someone. Zhu tries to say something, but Bei rests a hand on his shoulder, mentally telling him to keep quiet. Blind man Bei says they've built a wide network of kiosks, but soon, authorities will come hunting for them. And when that happens, Zhang Fan says, their only protection will be their own power. So they'd better start preparing now. Blind man Bei thinks this is not the moment to tell the master about his power-suppressing ability, or he might recall Fan Lai's comment, which could damage their trust. Blind man Bei says that since the master allowed it, they must be ready. This time all 7, will be involved. He checks if everyone understands. Liang Chen and Zil San resentfully think Bei treats the master as less than human. Sayo-san tells Zhang Fan he just got back from Thailand. He discovered another group tailing their target. Things may get messier. Blind man Bei informs the gentleman they're awaiting his call. Zhang Fan replies that finding a worthy teacher here is not easy. As a caravan passes, Zhang Fan says a mantis catches a cicada, but a sparrow waits behind. Better to be the sparrow. He wipes his dagger with a smile. Light spreads across the area. Cries erupt. The enemy attacks. One guard draws his sword. A prisoner tells the guard these are men from northern Feng. He warns Liu that the barbarians will never free him. He calls him Baby Li and urges him to leave. This is Hero City Patrol Captain Wang Lai. He unsheathes his sword and charges into battle on horseback. The prisoner yells after him, reminding him that his daughter-in-law is pregnant. He begs him not to die for nothing and to turn back. The man laments that the guard had a chance to live. This is former Kudo City Captain Ding Zhou. The guards suddenly cover their ears. Blind man Bei is playing music, asking where in the world he'll find a true friend. The guards rush him with weapons. Fang Simeon laughs and strikes them down with her silver threads. Liang Chen and Amon join the fight. Zhao Xing charges in too. Fan Li lifts Deng Ro over his shoulder and retreats. Bei says Amon, Lang Chen, and Sayo San will cover the escape while Feng Simeon clears the path. They'll all flee together. Wang Lai collapses in pain, coughing and falling. The enemy runs at Bei, who calmly sheaths his weapon. Bei starts playing again. His enemy drops dead mid-charge. Ding Zhou thinks, if that man beat Little Lai so easily, he must be near level 9. But why would a blind man kill so casually? Blind man Bei tells Alan it's time to leave. Alan quickly follows him. Wang Lai asks blind man Bei to deliver his final words to his wife. Bei sighs and assures him he'll take care of her. Zhang Fan is writing, looking ahead, when something suddenly hits him. Fan Lai rushes over, carrying someone on his shoulder. Zhang Fan yells for him to quickly place the man onto the horse. As a man runs past screaming, Zhang Fan reaches out and asks him to stop for a moment. Later, Zhang Fan sits at a table with blind man Bei and Feng Simeon behind him. Bei says it took time to shake the enemy, but the teacher's safe. Fan Lai brought him back first. Zhang Fan responds approvingly. Zhang Fan requests to help the teacher down. Blind man Bei congratulates him. He finally has a teacher now. Zhang Fan thinks to himself that he finally has a teacher. Sayo-san comments that something seems wrong. When Fan Lai returned, he looked shaken, almost as if the teacher had died. Zhang Fan can't believe it and thinks it's a bad joke. The next day, Zhang Fan stands near blind man Bei and sees the man lying on the grass. He asks if the man is still alive. He thinks he wasted the whole day for someone who's completely wrecked. It feels like some cruel joke. Blind man Bei checks the pulse and calls Zhang Fan, saying the man was once a psychiatrist. Zhang Fan sighs and says it looks hopeless. Deng Yu shows no pulse or breath. Blind man Bei calmly suggests burial, but Bei adds that burying him would be wasteful. He remembers their flower garden and suggests turning Deng Yu into fertilizer like they did with others. Zhang Fan closes his eyes and agrees. He thinks he always feels off around Bei. Maybe he's not mad enough. Suddenly there's a sound. It's Deng Yu. He's waking up. Blind man Bei shouts to Zhang Fan, "The teacher is alive. Heaven hasn't abandoned someone touched by the Lord." Bei tells Zhang Fan that before calling him teacher, they need to discuss etiquette. He asks to handle it through his team. He assures that Zhang Fan can begin training tomorrow. Zhang Fan asks them to treat the teacher with respect and avoid rudeness. Blind Man Bei with Feng Simian stands before Ding Zhou and says they know he's a martial artist and want to talk. Bei tells Ding Zhou that if he agrees to train their master, they'll guarantee his safety. Ding Zhou replies he never said he'd teach their master. Blind Man Bei starts to get irritated. Sayo San says she's seen many brave warriors break and turn into cowards after being tortured. Blind Man Bei says their master taught them to win people over through virtue, especially since this is their master's future teacher. Then he suddenly recalls that Captain Wang Lai's wife still owes him money for a revelation he gave her 2 days ago. He tells Feng Simian she can go and wipe out the whole family now. This enrages Ding Ru. Blind Man Bei pretends not to notice and calmly apologizes, saying they had to handle a personal issue. Ding Ru lowers his head and agrees. He wonders, Wang Lai died protecting him, his wife is pregnant. Should he really drag that family into this? Blind Man Bei then reconsiders. He says they won't kill over a debt, it goes against their master's teachings. They should drop it. Bei tells Ding Ru he'll live here from now on. That's all he can say for now. If training goes well, they'll discuss additional compensation later. He adds that they may help restore Ding Ru's cultivation to its former state. Ding Ru looks stunned and asks if this is some kind of trick. Blind Man Bei replies it's not a trick, they're just generous with those they value. He promises that when the master advances in cultivation, Ding Ru will regain strength and can take revenge on the northern Feng Lu family himself. If Ding Ru bonds well with the master and the master gives the order, they'll help him carry out his revenge. Later, Bei stands near a tree and tells Feng Simian again. They must use virtue, not torture. Torture is crude and outdated. Feng Simian closes her eyes and agrees. He gave her a valuable lesson. She admits she always knew he was cruel, but didn't expect him to be this cold. Threatening Wang Lai's entire family was beyond brutal. Bei responds that Wang Lai gave his life for Ding Ru. Isn't it unfair to pressure him by using Wang Lai's family as leverage? Feng Simian smirks and asks if Bei's really prepared to kill his own unborn child. Bei replies that the child isn't his. She laughs and asks if he's claiming to be infertile. Bei says he never touched her. He only gave her intoxicating water to calm her emotions. And that's how she managed to get pregnant. Feng Simian exhales, saying he scared her. She thought he'd abandon his own child. Bei says he's pure, unlike her, corrupted and dark. He asks her to call Eamon and says soon he'll request a Chai Path chart from their warrior. She must insert it into Eamon's body. Feng Simian says inserting the needle will hurt Eamon. Bei asks if she can handle it. She licks her lips and admits she can't. Someone inside says every family has its own martial method. First, their clan gathers chi into a void point. Coins fall onto Eamon's body. Feng Simian sticks a needle in, asking if this is the point. She adds that once chi concentrates there, it'll split in 5 directions. Bei explains the chi will move to head and limbs. Eamon says a mistake could kill him. Simian reassures him she knows what she's doing. Ding Ru asks Bei why they can't just draw the diagram on paper. Bei replies that paper won't do. It lacks clarity. The body itself is the ideal model. He tells Simian to keep going. He instructs Eamon to use his heart and lungs to boost chi flow, pushing it through his blood repeatedly to build speed. Eamon replies that this process, repeated, will enhance all physical functions, and eventually make the body glow. Ding Ru says glowing means reaching martial threshold. At that point, one qualifies to lead a small unit in the army. It took him a decade to hit level 9 in martial arts, and even that was considered fast. Bei tells him to try anyway. The chi path is already marked on Amon's body. Eamon says he's a vampire and doesn't know blood chi. Bei says even so, if blood is controlled and flows fast enough, it'll draw wind, and that wind becomes usable chi. Eamon responds that it's hard to argue with that logic. Ding Ru warns not to rush. One must first build strength gradually. Even with luck, there's no shortcut. Suddenly, energy shimmers around Amon. Being shocked, he repeats in disbelief. He was just lying there moments ago. Simian touches her cheek and says pink suits a young girl. She likes it. Eamon retorts it's not fitting for someone her age. Simian tells him pink is still better than that awful red he used to wear. Bei says Eamon will dress later. She wants to try first. Eamon asks why it matters to a blind man whether he's clothed or not. Bei says he just wants to feel part of a ritual. As blue energy circles him, he says it's all quite easy. He remarks that blue isn't bad. It carries ancient power and rare skills. Seeing this, they conclude it's the same cultivation path designed for their master. Bei tells Sam Fan Lai and Liang Chen they arrived just in time. Amon says he wants to put clothes on. Yang Chen's aura turns purple. Eamon mocks him, but Feng Simian tells him he's no one to judge. Green energy glows from Zhao's hand. He wonders if it's possible to change it, maybe even repaint it. Feng Simian laughs and congratulates him. Green is the color of nature, perfect for hiding in wild terrain. Just then, Fan Lai appears glowing yellow. Bei says they've only made it halfway to level 9. Though the method seems easy, forcing progress won't help. An invisible wall blocks them, so the next step is clear. Bei yells that they must do everything they can to support their master. The next noon, someone explains this is how martial arts knowledge is usually passed down, asking if it's understood. Jingfan clenches his fist and says he understands. Feng Simian and Eamon stand behind him. Jingfan focuses and thinks that all he got were theories and a quick look at Eamon's lion marks. How could that lead to heaven? He suspects they expect too much from him. Looking at Dingru, he realizes the master seems quite normal, not as mad as the rest. Bei asks Master Ding if there's a simpler method, maybe some kind of external trigger, since the master is just starting out and needs clearer guidance. Dingyu agrees. Some people struggle to sense qi, so they use powder ears to awaken evil qi. He uses aura to disturb internal qi flow. Bei explains that Liang Chen will use his evil qi to stimulate the master's meridians. Liang Chen's qi is pure and controllable, but it will hurt a bit. He extends a finger and channels energy into Jingfan's chest. Zhongfan feels a tingle, mild numbness, and some light pain spreading through his body. Zhongfan opens his eyes as foam spills from his mouth. The CEO yells at Liang Chen to stop. He pulls his finger back from Zhongfan's chest. The CEO demands if Liang Chen poisoned the master. Liang Chen insists not a trace of corpse poison entered him. Zhongfan collapses to the floor, supported by Feng Simian and Sam. She yells at Liang Chen, "This is what he calls being sure?" Bei asked him to trigger the master's qi. Her eyes burn purple as she blames him for nearly ruining the master's mind. Liang Chen defends himself. He used just a bit of evil qi. With the master's current level, that shouldn't have caused serious harm. Yu says the master's qi and blood are so concentrated, they're like dry kindling that Liang Chen's energy easily ignited. Bei asks if this means their master has a natural gift for martial arts. Feng Simian, Amon, and Liang Chen celebrate. It confirms their master is truly powerful. Later, Bei sits at Zhangfan's bedside. When Zhangfan wakes, Bei asks how he feels. Zhangfan says he can sense his qi, so heavy and strong. Dingru says beginners usually feel only light blood flow, but Zhangfan can already sense thick qi streams. Bei congratulates him. It's a good sign. The followers all praise Zhangfan's rare talent and destiny. They glance at Bei, thinking how close he came to stealing the master's favor. Zhangfan lifts his hand, asking them to quiet down. That night, Bei asks why Wilson went to visit Ding Hao. Wilson says he wanted to know what food could help someone increase strength. Maybe boost the master from level 9 to 8 or even 7. Bei warns that rising too fast has risks. The master could get stuck at level 7, and they'd all suffer the same fate. Bei laughs and tells Wilson not to get clever. If anyone finds out he planned to give the master some shady tonic, they'll be in trouble. Wilson says it was just a thought. Bei looks at the sky and admits they overdid it. They bit off more than they could chew. No one even knows when Mo Wang will awaken. Zero-san asks what Mo Wang has to do with this. Bei grins and warns what could happen if they keep pushing their master like today. Either the master will grow closer to them, or decide to go live with Mo Wang instead. Sayo tells Bei he's always been clever and good at reading others, but clearly doesn't understand Mo Wang. Didn't Bei ever wonder why Mo Wang still hasn't removed his own seal? Blind Man Bei asks what Sayo knows. Sayo replies that if Mo Wang wakes, he'll likely kill the master first, then vanish. Mo Wang once shouted at Zhang Fan, questioning if he deserved to be his father. Zhang Fan lies in a courtyard hot spring, with Feng Simian seated on the ground nearby. She asks if he likes these grapes. They seem too big to her. The tastiest ones are smaller and creamy, she says. Zhang Fan tells her not to say such things. It sounds improper, especially at this hour. Feng Simian feeds him a grape and asks if they're pushing him too hard. He says no, he just felt feverish today, likely from the evil qi. It wasn't pleasant, but he's okay. She offers to massage him, but he declines, saying he'll sit a bit longer and then rest. He has classes tomorrow. Feng Simian takes the grape plate and says she'll leave him be, wishing him a peaceful night. She thinks to herself, although the master is just a man, he created them all. The author lost in manhwa horror remains unchanged, a lonely, emotional soul. Feng Simian wonders if they're pushing him too far. She considers telling him the truth. After she leaves, Zhangfan mutters that it was unpleasant, but there was no other way to grow stronger. He still doesn't get why they respect someone as unremarkable as him. Isn't it all a bit strange? He notices a stone nearby. As he rises from the water, he speaks to the stone, saying his son is trapped inside, and that his father misses him dearly. The stone glows green, as does the surrounding water. It levitates, the liquid swirls, and the symbol on the stone lights up with green light. Blind Man Bei sits at a table writing when something startles him. He mutters, "Mohan." He senses an intense killing aura. He wonders if it's aimed at him or someone else. The bloodlust targets Mo Wang's father. That afternoon, Zhang Fan walks through the courtyard with Feng Simian. He says those forced to deliver food are back. But how many made it? Feng replies that only a few hundred survived. Most families began holding funerals this morning. Ahead of them, a funeral procession moves slowly. Feng Simian tells him he arrived right after his commendation, so he was a few days ahead. Many died this time. Kyoto might conduct another census soon. Zhang Fan responds that taking in refugees was just a way to maintain tax income. Liang Chang approaches and informs them that the magistrate has summoned them to court before noon. Zhang Fan asks if something happened. Later, Zhang Fan steps out. Blind Man Bei congratulates him. They're now officially on the board. Zhang Fan says they'll need to use this new position wisely. Rolling up the notice, Blind Man Bei says he heard the meeting will focus on the orphan crisis. Zhang Fan notes hundreds of war orphans arrived at shelters today. More will come, and they plan to assign them to lieutenants. He adds he's glad he made some cigarettes. Blind Man Bei says perhaps they should rethink adopting orphans. Yang Chung points out it's a higher-up order. They'll be made to take in a few kids each, based on rank and standing. Blind Man Bei disagrees. In fact, he thinks taking just a few would be too little. Chung asks how many he expects to care for. Blind Man Bei answers, every last one. He explains they could use an empty building to create a shelter. Chung calls him insane for wanting to open one. Zhang Fan suspects this stems from the 404 rule Will experienced. Blind Man Bei says he just wants to raise the next generation with his own hands. Lighting Zhang Fan's cigar, Bei says this will help them weed out those who don't fit, and gain public favor too. Zhang Fan lights up in agreement. Zhang Fan tells Bei and Liang Chen he understands him better now, and it's time they get back to work. Ding Ru tells Zhang Fan they might finish training today. He should memorize the feeling, as tomorrow they'll try to speed things up. Sitting cross-legged in a glowing aura, Zhang Fan asks Ding Ru how long he has to keep shining like this. Ding Ru says rushing won't help. Even with his current pace, he'll hit halfway to level 9 in 3 days, or fully reach it in 2 months. Zhang Fan says the master can rest today. He'll return tomorrow afternoon. Ding Ru smiles. Zhang Fan leaves him alone. Once alone, Ding Ru reflects that aside from those 6 lunatics who hit level 9 in a flash, this guy's talent is unnerving. He recalls they claim to be his students, but it feels more like they're dragging him down. Resting his head on his hand, Ding Ru wonders if these people are really sect disciples just playing at peace. Another day, Zhang Fan sits as Blind Man Bei stands beside him, saying he and Sam will visit a soap and perfume business in Tumen after lunch. Meanwhile, the last two went back to the desert to see if they could bring anyone else. Lighting a cigarette, Zhang Fan asks if 3 people are really enough. Bei says he warned them not to act unless absolutely certain. Bei adds that with their current pace, they'll likely need a month to gather the info. Zhang Fan says he's not sure what Bei is getting at. Bei explains he means Zhang Fan doesn't need to worry. Bei thinks to himself, 1 month should be enough for the master to reach level 9. Bei then says that with 5 gone, starting tomorrow night, Simeon will stay with him 24. Zhang Fan chokes on smoke. Coughing, Zhang Fan asks if Bei is sure that's a good idea. Bei insists it's for his safety. Simeon will protect him. If he reaches level 9 sooner, it'll ease her load. Bei says he can't always carry Mo Wang around. Zhang Fan replies Mo Wang won't appear. Bei says he will if danger arises. Zhang Fan asks if Mo Wang still cares. Bei replies no. He just wants to see him one last time. Zhang Fan is left speechless. Bei adds that he must prepare for the trip and asks to be excused. Zhang Fan agrees. As Bei turns to leave, a voice calls out, "It's too much." Feng Simian appears, holding 5 stacks of 20 to 30 letters each. She asks Bei how long he expects her to read them all, and what she did to deserve this. Bei says since they'll be gone, he hopes she'll write back and say something kind. Feng Simian snaps, telling him to leave. She wonders why the men get to enjoy themselves while she stays behind, and yet Bei expects her to write sweet letters. Who does he think she is? Bei calmly says she's their powerhouse, strong enough to replace 6 regular batteries overnight. Feng Simian places her hands on Zhang Fan's back. He tells her that's enough massage for today. He wants to rest now. She says no. She wants to sleep in his bed. With the others away, she won't leave his side for even a moment. She adds that if Bei were around, she wouldn't worry about danger. But he's not, and she lacks his skills. Zhang Fan asks if staying with him is a burden. Eyes closed in irritation, she asks if he seriously expects her to sleep on the floor. Then, eyes aflame with purple, she asks if he truly hates her. Zhang Fan replies awkwardly that he didn't mean it that way. She's being too sensitive. He says fine, they can share the bed. She smiles, saying she'll change and bring a few outfits. Maybe he has a preference. Zhang Fan blushes and says, that's fine. After she leaves, Zhang Fan thinks she must see him as emotionless. But those massages stir him up, and lately, he's been focusing on blood and qi training. Suddenly, he clutches his head and cries out, something's wrong. Then he blacks out. Feng Simeon returns, saying she's back. She daydreams that little Mo Wang might one day call her mom. Then she screams. Her clothes have vanished, and she's turning into paper. Purple glowing sheets swirl around her. Then an explosion erupts. Coughing in the smoke, Feng Simeon sees a massive power surge reach for her. She's frozen. The stone that held it begins to emit purple mist. Zhang Fan wakes up coughing. Still dazed, he looks at Feng Simeon and asks, what did you want me to call you again? Zhang Fan lies in bed, eyes closed, sunlight on his face. Slowly, he opens his eyes and gets up, rubbing his face. He notices Feng Simeon sleeping on the floor. He wonders why she didn't join him. They had agreed to share the bed. Stretching with a yawn, Feng Simeon opens her eyes and asks if he's already up. She says she'll wait while he washes. Zhang Fan nods. He thinks to himself, it was inevitable. He's just another guy, and she decided to toy with him. Later, Zhang Fan washes up while Feng Simeon helps him dress. She says breakfast is ready and tells him to go ahead. She still needs to clean up. He nods in response. Zhang Fan notices the Mo Wang stone and wonders why it isn't on the bed where he left it. He picks it up, thinking Simeon must have moved it. She quietly watches him leave. After he's gone, Feng Simeon sulks, disappointed that Mo Wang might be the reason her plan to grow closer to Zhang Fan failed. She asks the stone, does he love his father or hate him that much? She removes her nightgown, telling Mo Wang if he loves Zhang Fan, he must not want a stepmother. If he hates him, he must be blocking him from being with any woman. Must be tough being his dad. She sighs, saying chasing dreams at this age is hard. But Zhang Fan is lucky. Being a stepmother might be even harder. Somewhere, someone says the Mei family's fort was attacked and taken last night, right under the Zhongbei army's watch. Another voice wonders if the attackers aren't afraid of retaliation. After the battle, the Zhongbei army flag was hoisted over the fort. Zhang Fan recalls the Mei family had a weak force. Their fort was halfway between Kudo and Tumen, and protected by both cities, so no one dared to challenge them until now. Zhang Fan sits sipping tea while three men nearby chat among themselves. One says Maki's Jin has had a rough few years. Hasn't he faced enough already? Another adds that if he remembers right, the attack was led by a lieutenant named Jiang. Was this ordered by the district chief? A third guy jokes, asking if Jin means their own Captain Jiang. The other replies, surprised. Could their captain really be the one who led the night raid against the Mei family? The third man says it was a Shenbei army lieutenant leading the group, and that their own captain also holds the same rank. Zhang Fan suddenly spits out his tea. All three men immediately turn to stare at him. Zhang Fan sits frozen, thinking, Captain Jiang, Shenbei army. Could they really be talking about him? A man approaches and asks Lieutenant Zhang Fan for his formal rank. Jiang replies that he serves under the Zhendi army in Kudo and is captain of the merchant guard. The man then questions him about the Zhenbei army's intentions. Zhang Fan thinks he'd love to know that himself. He has no idea what they've been up to since leaving. He gets up and walks away. At the door, Zhang Fan wonders why he should explain the plans of Mark and the others to anyone. Zhou slams the table and angrily repeats Zhang Fan's words. Mark Zhen? Such arrogance. Zhang stands before him on the carpet. Zhu demands to know what crime the Mei family committed. Jing Fan calmly replies their actions easily qualify as criminal. Zhou shouts that's pure assumption. This is Kudo's court. Does Jiang really believe he won't be punished for that kind of disrespect? Zhang Fan answers with silence. Internally, he knows all the heat is falling on him, and he still doesn't know the full picture. All he can do is keep playing the part. Zhou draws his sword. Zhang Fan doesn't flinch, though his body trembles. Not from fear, but from a rising thirst to kill. The Mo Wang stone glows in Zhang Fan's pocket. Sparks of blue energy flicker. He realizes Mo Wang is awakening. Mo Wang, a child with 9 lives, was abandoned at birth each time. His buried fury is enough to drown the world in blood. If Blind Bay and Simeon were inherited responsibilities, then Mo Wang was his true creation, raised entirely by him after his partner vanished. Now that very son, Mo Wang, is endangering everything he built. Zhang Fan hears his laughter from behind. Zhou drops his sword, grabs Zhang Fan's shoulder, and asks why he's here. Just then, Mo Wang vanishes. Zhang Fan says the young lady is fine. Zhang Fan senses Mo Wang calmed down once Zhou's tone softened. Zhou says he recently came close to death. Wiping away tears, Zhou adds the young lady has also suffered. Since His Excellency is away in the capital, her family now relies on her. Watching Zhou, Zhang Fan suspects he's a agenda spy. Never thought he'd end up part of a real-life espionage story. Zhou continues, saying he remembers Zhang Fan's family moved to Kyoto 6 months ago. He asks if Zhang came here on behalf of the young lady. Zhang Fan wonders if he can manage to draw any intel out of the man. He says the young lady saved his life. His father and grandfather served the Li family. His father is Zhang Chenggong, his grandfather Gengelo. Both outsiders, he adds. Xu Wenzhou smiles, saying he's heard of them. Seems they once drank with his own father. He adds that joining Kyoto's underground was also the lady's command. Zhang Fan agrees. It was the first step. Before he can finish, Xu Wenzhou covers his mouth and warns him not to say such things to outsiders. He urges him to be more cautious in the future. When Zhou removes his hand, Zhang Fan respectfully agrees. His Excellency is right. Zhou assures him he'll handle the Mei family's fortress. If issues arise, Zhang Fan can come directly to him. If the lady wants the whole hut, just say the word. Zhang Fan silently thanks spy movies. Without them, he wouldn't have known how to act in this situation. Zhou clenches his fist and declares he'll personally open the city gates for the lady and present the city to her. Zhang Fan reflects that he's successfully overcome today's hurdle. A few nights later, under the bright moon, Zhang Fan soaks in a hot spring while Feng Simeon sits nearby. He says they really did send him letters, but only Blind Man Bei's letters were useful. The Mo Wang stone floats in the water. Zhang Fan says he has a hunch the Mei family fortress may be the first to attack. In that case, it's better to strike first. Wearing the Zhenbei army's skin lets him justify things to Kudo. Without his title and role as Zhenbei's spy, he'd already be dead. Feng Simeon asks if the master is tired from all the daily training. While massaging his head, she asks when he thinks he'll get promoted. Zhang Fan says Dinghouse told him controlling qi and blood sometimes only needs a final push. He says he doesn't know. Maybe he'll wake up tomorrow and already have it. Feng Simeon replies that she feels a gap still lingers in his heart. Zhang Fan laughs and denies it, but she says the gap seems to be right in front of him. Suddenly, Zhang Fan gets up, saying he's tired and needs to rest. Feng Simeon reminds the master that Mo Wang, being a spirit, needs heaven and earth energy. She suggests leaving him outside overnight to soak up the moon's essence. It might help restore him. Zhang Fan asks if that could work. Feng Simeon says he should at least try listening. Even if a thief breaks in, who would bother stealing a useless stone? Zhang Fan agrees to try and sets the stone down. Feng Simeon hugs him, and they walk away. A green glow starts forming around the stone. Zhang Fan notes the wind has picked up. Feng Simeon says it might be the northern wind, normal for this region. Meanwhile, Mo Wang's amulet glows even brighter. Feng Simeon says she should undress him first. Just then, Mo Wang emerges from the amulet, furious. Inside the house, Feng Simeon massages Zhang Fan's shoulders. Both are wearing robes. Feng Simeon thinks about Mo Wang. She understands why he avoids the master. But if he keeps hiding, she doubts he'd dare show up here again. Still deep in thought, she suddenly hugs Zhang Fan. She wonders how she can let go of the man she wants. Mo Wang never harmed her, yet he keeps trying to shield his father from love. Flustered, Zhang Fan calls her by surname. She leans in and whispers that he has bruises on his chest. She offers to help heal them. Zhang Fan awkwardly refuses. She asks if he doesn't trust her. He says that's not it. She insists his blood remains unstable and needs treatment. Zhang Fan gives in, and she asks if she may drain it with her hands. He reluctantly agrees. In the morning, Zhang Fan stretches lazily, then suddenly opens his eyes wide. He's stunned to find he's reached rank 2. The city serves as a trade hub between the Dan region and the western lands. Blind Man Bei plays the piano and mentions they originally came just to discuss soap and perfume. He keeps playing as a western merchant sits nearby. Suddenly, Susan holds a knife to the merchant's throat. Blind Man Bei says that when he asked them to alter their tactics, 5 armed men burst in. He muses aloud. People can be so cheap. Still playing, he notes the soap and perfume are ready. He even jokes they might share the secret formula. The armed men are knocked off balance, yelling in panic. Blind Man Bay says before anyone else learns the ingredients, they could rake in a fortune. Blind Man Bay grins and says all they want in return is some silver, 600 elite horses, and 300 sets of weapons and armor. Enough to mimic Zhenbei army gear, which they believe they can easily replicate. He asks Wen He for a response. Wen He, sweating, says he just wants to know why they stayed hidden until now. After all, they already delivered the perfume and soap. Blind Man Bay says they waited for funds. During the day, Zhang Fan sits focused on his cultivation. Ding Ru notices the energy surrounding him and gasps. It's black. Zhang Fan asks if this is a rare type of qi. Ding Ru replies it's actually quite common. Zhang Fan wonders why Ding Ru is so shocked. Ru asks if he's joking. Reaching this rank means Zhang Fan has outgrown his teacher. Ru adds their teacher-student bond is now over. Internally, he thinks Zhang Fan truly doesn't grasp how impressive this is. Zhang Fan closes his eyes and tells Ding Ru that if he hadn't brought it up, he might have forgotten entirely. He suddenly calls for Simeon, shouting that Ding Ru is now useless and can be turned into plant fertilizer. Ding Ru is stunned. He thought her being his teacher was only temporary, but it became a lifelong role. Zhang Fan puts a hand on his shoulder, saying he was joking. Ding Ru laughs and thanks him, calling Zhang Fan the kindest master. Feng Simeon says Ding Ru has two options: become fertilizer or join their master as a loyal follower. Zhang Fan corrects her. She must mean servant, not lackey. Cindy replies that footman sounds more commanding. Zhang Fan chuckles and agrees. Let her call it that if she wants. Zhang Fan smiles at her, thinking that beautiful women are also dangerous. Feng Simeon hugs his arm and asks Ding Ru to make his decision. Ding Ru lowers his head, saying even as a servant, he'd be useless. He'd only waste their food. Simeon tells Ding Ru not to worry. Dogs of the Zhang family aren't like others. In most homes, broken dogs are used for stew. Cindy casts a spell, purple threads swirling around her. She says the Zhen family will always help their own recover their paws. Shocked, Ding Ru asks if she can really heal him. Cindy replies that she couldn't before, but now she truly can. Ding Ru falls to his knees, his wheelchair tipping over. He bows to Zhang Fan and Cindy, saying he accepts and starts repeating, "Master." Zhang Fan tells Ding Ru he can begin working again once treatment's done. He tells Simeon to start. She bows and says she will carry it out. A while later, Zhang Fan is calmly sipping tea when Feng Simeon walks up to him. She tells him that Ding Hao will need a few days to recover fully, but she believes he'll return to the 9th martial level. Jiang Fan recalls that Simeon once said she couldn't cure him. Feng Simeon, a bit embarrassed, says she's been training recently and seems to have regained her healing ability. Internally, she wonders if she should tell her master about her recovery. Feng Simeon hurries to Zhang Fan, saying she wants to resume training tonight to strengthen her hands again. She insists on working hard for him and asks not to be refused. Zhang Fan agrees at once. A servant arrives to inform him someone from Yamen has come to the hall. Zhang Fan says he'll be there soon. The guest sits and compliments Zhang Fan's home, saying it must have cost a lot. Zhang Fan replies it was cheap. Rumor has it the house is haunted. The guest explains that in 2 days, gifts will be sent to the Marquise for her birthday, and his master wants Zhang Fan to assist. Zhang Fan asks what gifts he's talking about. The man reminds him that Lady Makis Zhenbei's 50th birthday is coming up soon. Zhang Fan says he'll never forget the kindness the lady showed his family. Inwardly, he admits he wasn't aware of the birthday but luckily played it off. Zhang Fan smiles and asks why they came to him. Surely anyone could have done this. He suspects Xu Wenzhou must have another reason. The man adds that tomorrow, his master will leave Kyoto under the guise of a patrol and intends to secretly reach the Marquis's residence. He leans in and whispers that his master hopes Zhang Fan's connections will help arrange a private meeting with the lady and princess. That night, Zhang Fan relaxes while Feng massages his temples. He tells her the gift escort is risky. If their secret gets out, Xu Wenzhou will be furious, and they'll have to run for their lives. Feng Simeon asks why not just steal the gifts. War is brutal, and murder may be necessary. A distraction could help when the time is right. Zhang Fan says staying undercover is the best route. Since they're blending in and recruitment is underway, this moment is perfect. They can't quit yet. Zhang Fan tells Feng Xinan to assign someone in disguise to join him on departure day and stage a scene during the journey. He says tomorrow he'll have the escorting officers step out for a beating. Feng Xinan smiles and agrees, calling him a good master. She leans in and asks Zhang Fan for help with sewing. She's out of practice and struggles with the needle. Later, a table is filled with dishes. Someone offers a toast to Captain Jiang. Jiang Fan lifts his cup, saying he's just the Marquis's servant. If his mistress finds out he's involved, she'll scold him for being foolish. The soldiers are stunned, thinking Captain Jiang must be very close to the princess. Jiang Fan adds that he's a blunt man but remembers the Marquis's advice. Lead the troops, drink with them, settle disputes, and celebrate victories. Jiang Fan says they all know what tomorrow holds. Since things turned out this way, he'll count on their full support. Things Yu is hidden in the background. Jiang Fan promises that if they're loyal to him, he'll recommend them to his mistress and they'll all prosper together. The soldiers respond in unison, pledging their loyalty. Jiang Fan raises his cup and thanks them. He thinks to himself that though these men come from modest backgrounds, they're smart. Sadly, promotion is tough. He can't reveal his rank to them yet. A loud shout comes from outside. Jiang Fan wonders who's ruining this moment. Suddenly the door flies open from a kick. Jiang Fan storms in with walls rushing behind. Inside, a woman lies on the ground crying. A man towers over her, holding her down. It's Kudo's top official. Things Yu stares in disbelief. Jiang Fan turns and asks if he knows the woman. The man yells at them, demanding if they know who he is. The girl sobs, covering her eyes. Things Yu realizes she's his brother Wang Lai's wife. Jiang Fan thinks, could she be the same woman Blind Man Bei helped? He accuses the man of attempted rape. He asks Deng Ru why he isn't stopping him. Deng Ru angrily says that man is Kudo's chief official. Jiang Fan demands to know what rank that makes him now. He wonders if Blind Bei lied about her being untouched. If so, then she's already half his woman. Ding Zhou says he's a servant now. Jiang Fan corrects him, saying he's his dog. Jiang Fan adds that his dogs don't tolerate insults. If he wants to bite, he should. Jiang Fan will take the blame. Ding Zhou agrees. As Ding Zhou steps forward, the man yells, asking why they haven't left yet and if they even know who he is. Zhou grabs the man's finger and snaps it. The man screams, clutching his hand. Zhou kicks him in the face. Jiang Fan bends down to the girl and gently asks what happened. She trembles, saying the man tricked her into coming to see her late husband's trial. Jiang Fan notices her bra showing. She wipes away tears, saying if she hadn't come, her family would have suffered. He thinks there might not be a single woman alive who could endure such things knowingly. Ho Fan yells for Ding Zhu to bring the man to him. Ding Zhu agrees. Zhou drags the man over by the collar. Jiang Fan knows if he doesn't end this harshly and decisively, Blind Bei may become a serious problem. Jiang Fan gives the order to gather men. He knows the man must die, there's no other option. A soldier behind asks what the troops are for. Jiang Fan grins and says they're going to wipe out the man's entire family. Jiang Fan Reed is ahead with soldiers. Beside him is a disguised Fang Sinan. He recalls the Chen family once ruled here. He never expected to see this day. He curses, thinking about dying in battle and the widows and children left behind. He swears to erase the whole family. He adds that to protect their own families, they must not show mercy this time. A bloody corpse lies beneath his horse. Jiang Fan remembers Blind Bei's advice, that to stay in power, he must hold his status high. He realizes that as long as he remains powerful, no one will dare challenge or undermine him. Jiang Fan grips the reins tightly. He thinks if he gives in now, more trouble will come. Why is it, he wonders, that unlike old plays, he can't win in one blow? Even breaking a door is a struggle. Behind him, the soldiers wait, whispering among themselves. They stand before the gate, wondering why the Lord hasn't given the signal yet. They must act quickly. The longer they delay, the more time their enemies have to recover. They don't deserve that kind of mercy. Jiang Fan raises his hand, thinking he must protect himself and the family estate he and Blind Bei worked hard to build. He gives the signal. A shout calls out to stop Officer Zhang. Xu Wenzhou is approaching with armed men. Xu yells that Jiang Fan must come with him. He demands to know what drove him to act this way. Raising troops or stirring rebellion is a grave offense. As Jiang Fan walks through the courtyard, guards escort him. Two soldiers step forward and ask for his weapons. Jiang Fan remains still, and energy starts crackling around him. The soldiers are stunned, so young, and already at the 9th level. Only Zhenbei's Marcus matches that. The soldiers behind him shout in amazement. 9th level martial artist. Officer Zhang's strength is unmatched. Jiang Fan enters the house, thinking Xu Wenzhou must be furious over the chaos. As the doors shut, he reflects. No matter his rank, Xu won't tolerate such actions in Hero City. Xu Wenzhou puts a hand on Jiang Fan's shoulder, praising him. Jiang Fan is confused by the unexpected compliment. Yi Zhu explains that now, with the market stable and politics tense, they must stay ready. If they use hatred for the Chen family to unify their troops, they'll raise morale and gain more with less effort. He ends by saying Jiang Fan is a worthy son of Shu. Shu tells him to keep working confidently. He also heard Jiang Fan would lead the birthday gift escort and suggests letting the old magistrate finish preparations. Xu waves and says he'll ride with them tomorrow. He believes that if the soldiers go unchecked, they might commit terrible acts and cause total chaos. That's why he's joining. To confirm if Kudo still belongs to Great Yan, Jiang Fan thinks Xu Wenzhou has an incredible imagination. He'd make a great manhua writer. A man tells Officer Jiang that his master has a poor sense of direction and hopes Jiang Fan will guide him. Jiang replies, shocked, but agreeable. The man then turns to the soldiers and coldly gives the kill order. Jiang Fan thinks it's brutal. The troops accept without hesitation. At night, the house lies in ruins. Jiang Fan sits among the rubble and asks Ding Ru if he's curious why he came here so late. Ding Ru guesses it's about the aftermath. Jiang Fan admits he's unsure himself. He just felt like coming. He lights a cigarette. Ding Ru, calling him master, says he can share whatever's on his mind. Jiang Fan replies he'll open up if Ding calls him younger brother. Ding Ru is unsure how to respond. In a shaky voice, Ding repeats, younger brother. He admits that at first Jiang Fan seemed cold, but sometimes he feels surprisingly human and hard to figure out. Jiang Fan says Ding is being overly poetic, like a scholar. He exhales smoke, admitting he lives too comfortably, so maybe he's poetic too. He's never gone hungry or truly suffered. Everything was handed to him. But moving forward, he can't afford to keep living like that. People say war's horrors show in the day, through violence and revenge. Yet these soldiers still managed to gain wealth and enjoy life. His past world felt soft on the surface, yet even there cannibalism thrived. This world, however, is far more savage than he imagined. He says he can't allow himself to be a burden anymore. Sheng Yin approaches and asks if she can sit with him. Jiang Fan tells her not to bother. She should go prepare for their departure. She agrees and leaves to pack. Jiang Fan says he's tired and will rest. Sheng Yin says it's still early. They could have played cards or dice. She jokes she'd be a great dealer tomorrow night. A day into the gift escort mission, someone in camp suggests to the group that they stop here and continue traveling in the morning. Around the fire, tents stand tall. In the middle sits a large one beside a giant cart. Someone replies to the speaker's idea. Jiang Fan stands before the cart and asks if it's the Zhu family's gift to the market. Ding Ru's wife says yes. It's a rare red wolf beast. Jiang Fan says he understands and gives permission to proceed. Zhou responds with, as you wish. Jiang Fan steps into a tent where Xu Wenzhou eats chicken. Behind him, a red magic-shrouded wolf lies caged. Jiang Fan grins on entry. Xu, chewing, asks how Jiang found him. Jiang jokes that with Xu's build, there's no other place he'd be. Jiang sits and thanks him for the hideout. Xu replies that he's lived like a beast for years. It's only fitting he feels at home among them. A man enters the tent. Jiang Fan watches him greet Xu Wenzhou and take a chicken leg, realizing Xu really brought a guard, which could be trouble. As the man exits, Jiang Fan asks if they should prepare more food. Xu pats his stomach and laughs, saying he's already full. Jiang Fan gestures behind him and questions who that man was. He doubts anyone eats just half a chicken. Xu asks if the man wasn't one of Jiang's soldiers. Their jaws drop as they realize the man's a total stranger. Jiang Fan rubs his face, baffled. Has he been talking to thin air all day? Jiang Fan later steps out, thinking that even after 2 hours of searching, the man is nowhere. Xu won't fight until he knows who he's dealing with. Suddenly, Jiang Fan spots the same man calmly eating by the fire. More food simmers in a pot nearby. He's stunned. Jiang Fan mentally calls Sinan. She instantly appears beside the man, prepared for battle and disguised. The man keeps eating, unfazed. Sinan quietly readies her magic under the cover of illusion. But something stops her. She looks at Jiang Fan and signals. She's unharmed. But the man is so powerful, she won't escape if it goes wrong. Jiang Fan joins the fire and jokingly asks how someone eats hot pot without sauce. He calls for Sinan to bring a dipping plate. Jiang Fan grumbles internally. It's always the main character flattering the boss. Worst case, next year Blind Bay will be cleaning his grave. He hands the man a bowl, saying food must be dipped to be eaten right. The man smiles. Jiang tells Sinan to bring sauce. She agrees. Flames crackle under the pot. Jiang Fan tells the man they're heading out now, and once the job's done, he can tag along. He adds that he guarantees good meals and drinks every day, all year, something new daily. The man takes a bite of chicken, chews, swallows, and asks if Zhang Fan can promise anything. Zhang replies, if he has it, he can. The man points to Sinan and says he wants her. She's quite something. Zhang Fan shuts his eyes and tells him to draw his sword. As he expected, Sinan's disguise failed, but she's not a bargaining chip. Zhang Fan keeps thinking, he's already died once and now his only purpose is to act. He wonders why he should give up his woman just to better the world. Fang Sinan is furious. Blue threads flash from her hands. The man points to Fang Sinan and remarks that she's truly impressive. He then turns to Zhang Fan and says he's also quite good. Zhang Fan freezes. He realizes the man wasn't referring to him at all. The Mo Wang stone in his pocket suddenly bursts into blue flames.